you can pin one person.
You tell me when we're off, and we're off. Still closer?
Still closer.
Okay. Are we good to go?
Seems like we are.
Well, let's start anyway. Thank you for, filling the room. It's really lovely to see so many people, and I know the AI subject always draws interest because it's such a world-changing technology and it impacts so many areas of our lives. I'm Francesca Trainini. I mean, that is a mouthful up there, but my, name they call me by is Francesca, and I'm the president of IMPALA, as well as a member of my national association PMI. And I run a label in Italy, Pier Southern Productions. I am here with colleagues from Spain, I think.
It's France, actually.
France,
Yeah,
okay.
close enough.
First mistake. And you're Ale, but I can't pronounce your surname, but you're...
Ael Guégan.
Okay.
Full name.
From Soundcharts.
From Soundcharts.
Yeah. And from Utopia, Thomas Liddy. That was easier, much easier for me. I will try and sort of set the scene for AI in the creative world, particularly, because it's such a sort of wide subject that we couldn't possibly even hope to cover it. I wanted to start by saying that in the last few years, I mean, we've had a spate of innovations which were each time sort of set to change the world and change our lives and become the everything, even in our creative world. I'm thinking of blockchain, I'm thinking of NFTs and metaverse, and they all came and went. They are still there. I mean, we're using blockchain. We haven't done away with NFTs, and certainly we'll hear more about the metaverse. But in November last year, AI hit our lives, and it has been on the front page ever since. So much so that my colleagues here and myself are impacted in our daily life, in our daily work by AI and what AI does for our creative sector. So I would like to start asking Ale for, what is the, how do you use AI in your day-to-day work?
Well, maybe first a couple of words about Soundcharts and what I do. So Soundcharts is a marketing intelligence platform, and it aggregates a lot of data, a lot of public market data. So we have a dashboard and we have an API that is used in turn by a lot of tech apps out there. So all of the NFTs, startups that emerged a year ago or some month ago use our system in order to have somewhere links to the social and a couple of data here and there. Now with AI, it's different, and we first ourselves we have improvements to our tool that we consider using AI. First and foremost is the fact that we have a clean database of everything that exists in the music business, anything that's public. And on top of that, you could just, with a single text prompt, say, well, please soundcharts, instead of logging into a dashboard, and go to the top artists from a specific country, add a couple of filters, etc. You would be able to, with just a simple text query, bypass the constraints of a dashboard. So this is first a simple evolution that either a tool like us or some other tools using our API could do. And also another thing that is quite interesting for us is the revenue recognition, and well, actually the number of streams that evolve through time, and the prediction of the patterns. And when you have a song that starts to become viral on TikTok or on any other social media, you might want to know what's after what you see on soundcharts, because the number of streams just stops yesterday. And so predicting what it's going to be after is also another interesting topic we're working on at the moment.
Thank you very much, El. And I am very remiss. I did not introduce G. Davies, who's joining us from London and online. Hello, G. You are counsel to IMPALA UK, the Independent Label Association for the United Kingdom, and on the board of IMPALA as well. And so we will draw on G's special capabilities and knowledge regarding, the legal aspects of AI later. So now, Thomas, would you like to introduce your work and what AI does for your day-to-day job?
Yeah, very welcome. Thank you. I work at Utopia Music, and Utopia Music is a music tech company where we analyze music and also analyze behavior in music consumption. But most notably, we have solutions for tracking music on radio, for example, how often a song is played. We heard in the morning, Chartmetric is doing this for 3,000 radio stations. We're doing it for 40,000 radio stations worldwide. But we also offer a range of solutions for labels, for the artists, but also collecting societies. And in addition to monitoring music and music consumption, we have music tagging solutions that help search of music for sync licensing, for example. So we have, when we talk about AI, we have AI solutions that are on the music analysis side, so not generative AI for music creation, that's not our topic, but analyzing music, finding out the beats per minute, the genre, the moods in the music. We provide that to labels, who in turn provide it to companies like Amazon or Spotify. For example, imagine advanced search with Alexa or Siri, where you can ask, play me romantic, melancholic music from the 80s, no faster than 80 bits per minute, for example. This is possible because we provide more than 300 metadata tags for every song that we analyze to the labels and in turn to the DSPs. Another solution we have is music recommendation based on emotions and moods. So that's a novel technology where we really know what's going on mood-based in the music in terms of moods, but then also seeing what people are listening to in the very moment describes what kind of mood you are possibly in right now when you listen to a bunch of tracks, and we can continue your music consumption journey by suggesting you more tracks that would fit your current mood. That's another AI-based technology that we are developing in-house. So personally, I've been in the space of music analysis and machine learning and AI for the past 19 years already, so I've been dealing with this topic quite long. And yeah, we have these technologies we are integrating on a B2B basis with labels. We're providing services for artists, for the monitoring, but also for streaming sites for advanced music recommendation. And on a day-by-day basis, I'm leading the AI and data science topics at Utopia. We have a team of 12 people. In addition, we have a team of musicologists who always verify that what we're doing with AI systems is really respecting the human perspective. They bring that in, like in the training of AI, but also in the verification that anything an AI system outputs is really reflecting what a musician would want to see. So this, on a daily basis, I'm working with 4 different teams in these realms of music tagging, analysis, and recommendation.
That's amazing. I mean, to have first-hand knowledge and experience of AI on this panel. G, over to you. Can you tell us a little bit of what you do and how and if AI already impacts on your work?
Sure, thank you. And I hope you can all hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
So I actually came into music through a career change. And originally I was working in technology. So I feel like my 2 worlds have now come together in an interesting manner. Looking at the membership of AIM in the UK, we ran a member survey to see what the thoughts and feelings were about AI and what the uses that our members are using AI for. And really, it's there's very broad use of AI across the UK independent music businesses. So I think Thomas and Dale gave us some great examples there. We're also seeing AI use for our members in areas of things like metadata cleanse, making sure that the metadata is correct, in automated tagging, in content creation. So, you know, there is more and more need for content in social media and so on, and AI can create a lot of time saving in that area. So, you know, it's really broad spectrum, and that's as well as using AI tools for actual music creation itself. So it's really across the board. AI is already very heavily used in the independent sector, and I think there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm to see where there can be more time saving, where there can be more interesting tools to help with creation. And it doesn't surprise me that there is so much interest and enthusiasm because, of course, independent music businesses are always needing to be innovative and needing to find time saving and needing to find ways to save on costs and margins in order to generate as much money as they can for the artists that they're working with, or for themselves if they are their own an artist running their own label. So this is not surprising to me that there has for a long time been a lot of use of AI tools, and we're just seeing really an explosion now of use. And I suppose what we will come on to is the way that we can make sure that those tools and opportunities are available to help independents to succeed and level the playing field and democratize the industry, at the same time as making sure that artists are protected, that creativity is protected, and in fact encouraged. So this is what I'm mostly focused on in my work at the moment.
Thank you, G. Yeah, I want to pick up on something that you have said, and that is the specific word help creators, because this is probably one of the bones of contention. Is AI helping creators, or is AI replacing creators? So, you know, this is probably the hottest question that we have to discuss today, and I would go over to Ale to see whether he can give us his thoughts about this.
For now, it helps, clearly. And I believe that creators today can use AI tools just like they use their electric guitar. I mean, there are a lot of new tools that emerge that help them produce music and get some backing tracks. You have the Magenta project by Google that you can plug into production softwares. You have also some plugin in the BeatStars system that allow you to get a backing track very easily, and this really lowers the barrier to entry in creating music. So I do not believe that for now we will see a diminution of number of artists. To the contrary, we'll see a lot of new people being able to compose and to make music. So for the creator right now, it's a good news.
Thank you. What about from your side of the spectrum?
Yeah, I very much agree. So right now we're in a phase where we have various flavors of AI system that all solve a particular task and tries to add the artist. You can use AI to generate your beat pattern, or to suggest lyrics for you, or like, yeah, fill in some melody. Well, we have also these systems now that can synthesize voice. That's already quite controversial, but it's kind of like a toolbox of different things that you can plug together. Just like in former times, you might have done a song with partially acoustic instruments and then plugging some sound processing on top of it, or an electric guitar as we had before, synthesizers, and you in the end mix everything together. And right now we're in a phase you use different AI things to help you here and there to compose your song, and then like create something that you couldn't create before. So it's like kind of really assisting, helping you to come up with something new and creative. I'm just like a little bit afraid that this emerges so quickly and so fast into a realm where we completely automatize the creation of music, and that's like we are on the edge already there, and I guess that's another topic we want to discuss.
Yes,
about.
I mean that's exactly what I'm trying to lead this conversation, because I think that's very interesting. And before I give the floor to G, I would like to see whether the audience have an opinion about this. Is AI going to help creators, or are we going to see artists replaced by AI? So, G, over to you.
Thank you. I'm also interested to hear what the audience says on this. And I'm very interested to understand also the makeup of the audience that is answering the question, because I think the question will be answered a little differently depending on where you are sitting in the industry, in the music industry, and where you sit in general in your work. So I think there are a lot of people who have significant concerns, and they're not unfounded concerns. You know, this is really a revolutionary technology. This is not a step change. This is a sea change. This is something that's going to have very broad and dramatic effects for the whole of society and human life. And the potential upsides are incredible, and so are the potential downsides. So very important that we can capitalize, we can make the most of the incredible opportunities, but that we always keep an eye to making sure that human creativity is protected and encouraged and enhanced. So I think I understand the fears of people who are worried about being replaced by generative AI. Of course, there is a concern. Of course, we must get the systems that surround AI correct so that that doesn't happen. But at the same time, you know, those same people can really benefit from AI. So, you know, as with any, you know, significant technology change, we have to look at it. We have to try to plan ahead as much as we can, in order that the technology can serve us and serve music and serve the people that like music in the best way.
Thank you very much. So, can I have some of you in the audience? Can I have an opinion from you, and perhaps you know, tell us where, you know, in which area of the creative community you work in? Any volunteers? Yes, please. Okay. You will. I will repeat your answer.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, so I don't know talking to the microphone. So my name is Frank. I started, or I've been working in the live concert industry, so to say, organizing myself live concerts as well for a while. And right now I'm building digital products for licensing, basically IP licensing. So my feeling is, my thoughts are actually that AI right
Thank you, Frank. Can I just stop you there? Otherwise, I will lose track of what you say and won't be able to repeat it for G and everybody that's listening to us. Frank works in the live music industry and has been developing a system for companies in the live sector, I think, as well. And at the moment, Frank reckons that AI is helping and not so much replacing. Any other opinions from the audience?
Maybe just, may I add, like,
Sure.
sum it up? Because of this, I believe that live concerts will gain on importance. So actually, we will go back to live concerts being more important, more valuable in the future. Because then I believe that artists will focus more on how can I extend or use this technology for my live performances, and not only for producing music for streaming, for instance, or for commercial cases, I would say.
Sure.
And that AI will also help in enhancing, augmenting the shows, because show is also, besides the music itself, a very important aspect of live concerts.
Frank also thinks that AI will help bring people back to live concerts, and live concerts will become more important for artists as they will be able to use AI to enhance all activities around the actual playing of music and performing. So that's a very interesting take. Thank you very much. We have another friend in the audience who would like to give us her opinion.
Yes, my name's Maria. Hello.
Hi.
And I like to spice up conversations like this, so I will say that actually in my experience as somebody that has a marketing agency, I needed an employee at the beginning of the year who would be basically my copywriter for writing different scripts and descriptions for social media. And I actually didn't hire this person because I just bought a €20 subscription of ChatGPT, and well, that works quite well for now.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. I just repeat that for the rest of the audience. Maria has a marketing agency. She was going to employ someone at the beginning of the year. She thought she needed someone to help with copywriting, and in the end, she subscribed to ChatGPT 4, I guess, and she's now doing very well by herself. So yes, that's another example that does indeed spice up the conversation, because so much AI gives an awful lot, but also takes an awful lot away. Okay, so thank you for your input. Unless there's anybody else that wants to give us their experience, I would probably carry on and just try and find out from my panel and maybe the audience what legal instruments you think are going to be useful in protecting, the creativity of artists, and, should I say also writers and anybody else involved in the creative industry, and whether associations in the various areas are actually doing enough to bring forth all the experiences and all the wishes of us, the users of AI, and potentially on the wrong side of it, like your potential, employee. So can I start again from Ale?
Yes. So for the legal instrument, like for now, I don't believe there is anything on a European level that actually tackles the subject of copyright and intellectual property. So for now, what's passed through the European Commission is more about how the content is used and not really about who it belongs to. So we need clearly something on that level. And also I saw an initiative of called the Human Artistry Campaign, with song exchange, etc., in a sort of manifesto about how we should use AI and how to ensure that AI will not replace and erode human culture and creation. And I encourage you checking out the manifesto, which has some interesting points. But I think this is a nice and necessary initiative from them.
Thank you very much. Thomas.
Yep. I think with the copyright right now we have already a good framework as a start, because it regulates normally usage of copyrighted work, and like automatically as an author of like songwriting or recording, you have a copyright on that. I think it just needs to be extended to regulate, can this be used to train AI systems or for other use of AI systems. I think we just need to extend there. But that's only like a partial win, because in the end the complicated thing is we could separate, this is a song, a work created by a human versus this is a song entirely created by AI, then doesn't not fall under copyright, maybe something else. The difficulty will be that we have like a lot of mixed scenarios. So someone used some AI to either create just the drum patterns or just the lyrics or just the voice, and then this will be very hard to trace it back, because who can tell at the end of the day what part of the song was AI generated? And even it could go as far as an artist lets an AI completely create the song by artificial intelligence, but then claims the authorship and the copyright. So this mixed scenario, this is going to be the difficulty, and I think there we kind of have to introduce like new kinds of regulation, new concepts, because we are at the end there, like with the current copyright framework and other frameworks of what we can do to protect the human authorship. Yeah, there must be something new that still needs to be debated. And
thank you, thank you, Thomas. Yes, and I would add that whatever AI is using at the moment is being scraped without A, knowledge, and B, consent by any of the creators in the first place. So over to you with this little spicy addition, G.
Yeah, I like the spicy addition. Very interesting. You raised a very interesting ethical issue, which I think we'll get onto in a moment. But first of all, I think it's important to remember that when we're looking at AI and how copyright it affects AI or doesn't, then the difficulty is that we're not just looking at one nation with its own laws, or the EU with its own laws, or the US with its own laws, because an AI company can exist wherever it wants to be. So there are some in the EU. We have very strong copyright protection. The same in the UK as well. US has good copyright protection. In other parts of the world, there is not such strong copyright protection. So as Francesca said, there is AI currently being trained, either believing that this is within the law under some exception, which exists in some places, or they're doing this in a place where there isn't strong copyright protection. And I think a lot of this will be tested in the courts as to whether this is permitted under copyright law, whether it is not permitted. But it's, for me, I think what I'm interested in is those companies who are looking to train their AI models in a fully compliant way, that they recognize the benefits of creating AI in partnership with creators, whether that's in music or elsewhere, and that they are working very hard to train their AI models on material that they know has had consent to the training. So we've seen this to some extent, although there's a little bit of a question mark, but to some extent with Meta, who released a statement about this earlier in the year. We've seen this with other AI companies who have stated that they are engaging songwriters and musicians to create music specially so that they can use it for training their models. So I really think that these companies who are training their AI models in this way, that they're doing this with a full knowledge of copyright, that they're making sure that they're compliant and working very well in partnership with creators and with the creative industries, I think that these companies should really be applauded. and should be encouraged. And I think this should be a benchmark for what we express as the music industry and as creators and as music businesses, that we should be pointing to these companies that are doing things in the right way, in a good ethical way, whether or not there is a question mark about the law in any particular nation or jurisdiction. I think is almost beside the point in that matter. I think it's for all of us to show and to work with and to put our money where our mouth is, work with those companies that are doing things in the way that we believe is correct, as ethical businesses and ethical creators ourselves. And to me, this is much more important than looking at, whether something can avoid the law or avoid copyright or circumvent the licensing restrictions of a particular platform in order to scrape data and train an AI system. And I really think that's where we should be putting our energies.
Yes, in a way, we are at the moment creating, the environment for AI to grow, and I think that legislators will be looking at what we as consumers and as companies and as associations, as labels are doing, to see how we overcome possibly the difficulties. And as you say, choosing your supplier of AI intelligence is probably a first step. Would that be something that you agree with, Ale?
Yes, absolutely. I do also agree that we all have a part to take in this situation, and that it's not only about the regulation. And for instance, you had the initiative of Universal and YouTube with the content ID for the synthesized voice of musicians there, and also they had this manifest of how to get an ethical use of AI, and also behind the scenes how to train YouTube content ID so that it can spot things. And again, I think it's a nice initiative. And after all the fake Drake and
the Beatles yesterday.
And the Beatles yesterday, yes. In France, we have this singer Angèle who had also her voice taken to do a song, and it was really similar to what she was doing. And she was saying that she was very afraid of what could happen in the future. And I think that this kind of initiative marks, it draws some lines and says what you can do, what you cannot do, and it's like you shouldn't wait for regulations to do that.
Thank you. Thomas?
Yeah. The thing is gonna evolve fast. So the area is evolving really fast, and I'm a bit afraid that all that we're discussing, proposing, is always a step behind what's gonna happen. So on the one hand, I'm also part of this AI domain, but I share with everyone else a bit of concern of where we're heading to, where we're going to. As I said, now we have isolated solution. You need to go to one service to create artificial voice, to another one to get your beat or your lyrics. I think what's going to happen really soon is that there are systems that do all of this together, and then can really create a whole song. Or at least in the near term, we're going to have some services provide, let's call it background music for fitness and hotel chains, and things like this. Music in that domain might be sooner or later, be really automatized, really generated. And there's the question, does anyone benefit from this at the end of the day? Because you could still claim right now, if a person has initiated the process of creating a song with AI, you could still attribute the song to the person and then give them credit and copyright and royalties and so on. But what if now services that provide music for hotels and fitness chains start to completely auto-generate music. So other than them, no one will benefit from this, and actually will harm the people who provide this music so far. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
so
it's something that we are facing already.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an if or a when. It's, you know, how do we deal with it? I'm curious to see if there's any artists in the audience or any labels that would like to give us the feeling of what artists actually perceive when they think about the risk of their voice being taken, or their kind of particular attitude and turned into a new single that they never worked on. If anybody here can give us an idea, or any on the panel want to elaborate on that concept?
If the audience does come in, I would love to talk a little bit more about this.
Yes, I have one member of the audience, and then G.
Yeah, so I work with an artist who's really present on TikTok. We also were present on TikTok. And there are some fan accounts of us both emerging, using our voices to make like other videos. Also, I think it's kind of dangerous if it evolves like to a lot of people using that stuff. Right now it's like 4 to 5 people using our voice, which is very dangerous right now because we can control it. But they pretty much can make you say anything, which is dangerous. Also, right now we see it as non-harmful or beneficial because it kind of is promotion for us, free promotion.
Okay.
Until it derails.
Okay. Can I have your name? So,
Andre.
Andre is has a label, I guess, and works with an artist who has been sampled by AI, and apparently there are 4 or 5 accounts on TikTok that simply use his artist's voice to perform. The artist is concerned, of course, but in Andre's opinion, at the moment, this is not a worry, it's more like promotion, but he's afraid that it might derail, as everyone else is. So, G, over to you.
Thanks. This is definitely an area which has been raised as a concern amongst the AIM membership, and I can completely understand why. You know, this is a very, not only a key commercial aspect of an artist to have their voice and their sounds and to be able to control what happens with that for the artist's career, but also a very personal subject. You know, no one wants to see some representation of themselves that they didn't consent to. And I think back to Eyal mentioned the Human Artistry campaign, and this is one of the aspects in the Human Artistry campaign is against the use of fakes and of pretending to be the artist or using the artist's voice without consent. The problem we have, going back to the legal issue on this, is in the UK at least, and other jurisdictions, there is no right, what's called a personality right or a publicity right. There is no right to the exclusive use of the voice or the image. In the US, they do have these rights in particular circumstances, and in some other jurisdictions. But certainly this is something we're lacking in the UK, and AIM is campaigning to have this introduced in legislation. The problem we have, as Thomas said, is that everything is moving very fast, and famously, legislation moves very, very slowly. So although we're campaigning for this, it's a difficult one because anything you want to introduce as legislation will probably take a little while to get there. So as well as legislation, we are also looking at what we can do to help the government to control this by regulation, which is often a quicker way of doing these things. But I think it's very important, if this is a key concern, that the voices of creators and the voices of music businesses who are affected by this are heard. So you're bound to see some calls to action if you're a member of IMPALA, or if you're a member of your local independent trade association, or in the UK, if you're a member of AIM, then there will be more activity towards protecting voice and image rights. There are already some laws which might protect it a little, so this does fall under data protection to some extent. But as with some laws where they were not designed for a particular scenario, it might be that this has to be tested again in the courts, which can, of course, take a long time. So I think very important to be heard if this is a concern. And again, it's just a matter of being really mindful of what might happen in the future. So for now, maybe we see this as, oh, it's fine, it's good promotion, you know, this isn't a big deal. But if this becomes more widespread, or perhaps the voice is used for a purpose that's really against what the artist believes in, you know, some kind of hate speech or something like this, then it becomes a really big issue. So I think let's not be too short-sighted
Or
about.
complacent, yes.
Okay, now.
Yes, absolutely. I would also add the very important element of the value of the economy of this. Someone earlier mentioned the fact that AI-produced music might be replacing the soundtrack for advertising or TV series and so on, which are an important line of income for our artists, for our labels, and indirectly for associations as well. So is this something that we can tackle today, or is this still something in the realm of legislation that might or might not come? Maybe we'll start with Thomas this time.
Yeah, on the legislation side, I'm not the expert, but yeah, I agree with G that here something needs to happen fast. At least the proposal needs to be made fast because it's already happening. What I think is, like, in addition to like the process of like introducing more regulation, we can talk about attribution, like doing a better job in like what is really clearly attributed to creators and ownership. Like the music industry has always been not super great on this, like saving, storing in a central data repository somehow, where you can look up and say who is the owner of a particular song or work. This really, I mean, I think this problem is there
Absolutely,
for decades now.
Yes,
this really
right
needs to happen.
about this.
I mean, generally, I'm always advocating like freedom, also freedom of innovation, but unfortunately, in this realm, we cannot go forward without regulation, as sad as it is.
Sure.
Because otherwise, we are in the wild, wild west, where everything does everything with any data, in this case, music, authors' work, and so on.
Yes, and
so
their livelihood. Yes.
Yeah, we need to really set a barrier and a boundary of what can be used in AI systems, what can they do. So for example, the voice synthesis that was mentioned here in the audience also, that wouldn't be possible if we would just disallow to use anyone's voice in the training of this AI system. So normally you should not do that because your voice is also like, it's your recording of your voice. But yeah, there's the ethical component and then the legal component where we need to still, I think on both ends we need to move forward and like be better.
Yes, it's an extremely interesting debate, and it also affects our daily life. Eyal?
I can't agree more with Thomas. I think that we need to learn lessons to what happened earlier this year and the previous year regarding image that was impacted maybe a little before sound was. So for artists who paint or graphic designers, you can decide to opt out. And in Europe, when you opt out, you're supposed to be taken out of what's created, and so it's called "Have I Been Trained?" And I believe should have exactly the same for music, and maybe first get the consent of artists before training models on what they do. That way around, instead of filling a lengthy form and taking time, not knowing that it exists, and also the effect of it not being very clear as well, it will work in Europe, but maybe not elsewhere, and in the end, you will be trained anyway. So, so yeah.
Yes, thank you. G, you have a point on this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you're both absolutely right. I mean, this is what I mean about making sure that we look ahead and we put everything in place that we can to make sure that we can capitalize without the equally significant downsides. So, yeah, absolutely. Regulation on the training, regulation on image rights for sure are needed. But there's a lot of things that we can do in the meantime to make our voices heard. So all of those things need to happen together at the same time. I'm very encouraged by where I see development in the piracy protection space. So, for example, I know that there are piracy protection technologies who are currently developing AI detection. So where you talk about have I been trained, which is very useful on the image side, it would be great to see a bespoke service like this for music. But I know certainly there are piracy protection providers who are looking to build those tools into what they're doing. I know this is something that the Music Fights Fraud Alliance are looking very heavily at as well in terms of fake accounts on streaming and faked music, if you like, music that is created without the consent of the artist being put on streaming. So those are areas where I think, yes, we need regulation and yes, we need activity, but I'm also encouraged by seeing tools coming down the line. And I would really encourage any AI developers out there to talk to the music industry. There are lots of gaps in the market which would be really encouraged and probably financed by people in the industry. So these are areas where I really encourage AI developers to be putting their thoughts. I also wanted to mention quickly, off the back of something Thomas was saying, that there is an organization called C2PA, which is Microsoft, the BBC, some very large corporations and organizations who are looking at how they can add labeling and watermarking to information and images at the moment. I would love to see developments in the music space for this as well, and I know that DDEX, who are the standard, who create the standard for metadata, they are looking at this area as well, and I would hope that they can develop something very quickly, because we can look at labeling and watermarking and things, but it's very important that this be done in a standard way so that we're all using the same system, and all of the platforms that host music for consumers can detect the same markers, so that we create a real standardization right at the early stages where we are now, where we're seeing this explosion in AI. So yes, C2PA, it's well worth having a look at what they're doing in this area. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with a woman called Nina Schick. She has written a book called Deepfakes and the Infocalypse, or Infocalypse. Really an interesting, although very negative read in some ways, but she looks towards innovations in embedding motion effectively into the DNA of AI generated works. I think she's been focusing on images, but again, this is something that I would hope can be very quickly side developed into music as well. So yes, absolutely, legislation is very much needed. Regulation maybe to fill in the gap until we get it. Our voices need to be strong and need to be heard. We need to be voting with our feet and working with companies, doing things in a way we think are good and beneficial. All of these things need to happen together, and then of course we can take advantage of those great creative tools. The one thing I would say to the woman in the audience who was talking about not hiring someone and using ChatGPT instead.
Yeah.
Of course, and again, of course, these time-saving and money-saving opportunities are really great. But at the same time, we need to think beyond our own business, our own way of doing things. If this is now one young person who won't come in at a junior level to the industry and be trained as to how to become the next Maria, the next really great copywriter who can use ChatGPT, The same with artists. If a lot of artists, when they're developing their careers, they're creating production music, they're creating simplistic jingles and things that are not great pieces of art, but this helps them towards developing their career and their sound and becoming great musicians. So these are some of the bigger aspects that we really need to start thinking about as people and an industry, is how do we support the future of creativity while we're taking advantage of all the money-saving and time-saving opportunities.
Thank you, G. And to sort of add to what you said about Maria's comment, maybe you can employ someone who does something different while ChatGPT takes care of your, of your copywriting. There you go. Maria will need to hire a ChatGPT operator.
Or you can use the time that you've saved to mentor someone to come into the industry.
Yes.
That's pretty much what I'm using it for, because now I have more time for mentoring my artists. So yes.
That's lovely. So there you go. I think we are coming up to the end of this conversation. It's the time for me to actually give a quick answer to the question that was posed. Who's afraid of AI? I guess no one's afraid of AI. And we all can see that it's can be potentially very beneficial, and we also can see where it can lead us astray and have pitfalls. I want to take the opportunity to thank, I don't know how to pronounce it in German, so you will forgive me, VTMÖ, for their for their hospitality. I'm sorry, Alexander didn't get to remember it in German, but thank you very much, and congratulations on 20 years of being part of the Austrian music business and leading the independent community here. It's really a great job, and this was a very, very good conference. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, G, for taking part remotely. Thank you, Ale and Thomas. I hope you all have safe travel home if you're going home, or continue the conference if you're staying. Bye-bye.
Enjoy the music.